He never imagined that the woman he trusted most, his fiancée, would betray him the most unthinkable way, even attempting to harm the one person he loved above all, his mother. The night Seoul breathed felt wrong. Cold wind rushed between the glass towers of Gangnam, carrying the scent of rain and distant sirens. Neon lights flickered against the wet pavement like broken heartbeats. And in the middle of that restless night, a black sedan tore through the streets, engine roaring, tires slicing through puddles. Inside the car sat Kang Jae-hyun, the man people whisper about with fear and curiosity. The youngest Mafia boss the Kang syndicate ever had. The one with eyes sharp enough to silence a room. The one who built an empire from scars he never talked about. But tonight, he looked nothing like a feared king of the underworld. His jaw was clenched. His fingers trembled slightly around the steering wheel, and his heartbeat was louder than the engine beneath him. His mother had collapsed. A sudden emergency call. A hospital room waiting. He hated hospitals. Every time he stepped inside one, old memories clawed at him. Memories of blood, loss, and helplessness. Memories of being a boy who couldn't protect anyone. But tonight, he didn't have a choice. The car screeched to a stop in front of Seoul National University Hospital. Rain started falling just as he stepped out, as if the sky itself knew he wasn't prepared for whatever awaited him. The automatic door slid open, releasing the sterile smell of disinfectant that made his chest tighten. "Where's my mother?" His voice was low, but urgent. The nurse looked up in surprise, recognizing him immediately. Everyone did. Jae-hyun didn't need tattoos or flashy suits. His energy alone made people step back. "She is in room 918, sir." He walked fast, not running, but close. His long coat flowed behind him, wet from the rain, leaving droplets on the marble floor. Each step echoed his fear. When he reached the 9th floor, he paused. Not because he needed rest, but because someone was speaking behind the thin door of room 918. A woman, a voice he knew too well. His fiancée, Min Hae-mi. She had been his calm, his stability, his promise of a normal life. Her gentle smile made even his darkest day feel survivable. Hearing her voice should have comforted him, but the tone wasn't right. She sounded angry, frustrated, almost annoyed. Jae-hyun's brows tightened as he slowly pushed the door open, but the scene inside was nothing like what he expected. The hospital lights cast a soft white glow on the room. Machines beeped steadily beside his unconscious mother. And standing near the window was Hae-mi, dressed elegantly in a beige coat, hair pinned perfectly, makeup flawless despite the late hour. She wasn't crying. She wasn't sitting by his mother's bedside. She wasn't holding her hand in worry. She was whispering on the phone, not whispering in fear or grief, but in irritation. "If this woman keeps getting sick, do you know how many of my plans will be delayed?" she hissed quietly. "You said everything would go smoothly. How am I supposed to hurry the marriage if she refuses to die?" Jae-hyun froze. His breath stopped. His fingertips went numb. For a moment, he wondered if he misheard, if stress warped his senses, if fear twisted the words. But then she spoke again. "No, listen," she said, her voice sharper. "I can't marry him while she's alive. He loves her too much. He'll never transfer the assets to me unless she's gone." His chest tightened, not with rage, not yet, but with a kind of coldness he rarely felt. A coldness that came before storms. A coldness that warned of irreversible things. Jaime entered the call and turned, finally noticing him. She gasped, startled, but only for a second. Then she forced a smile, the kind she used when trying to manipulate someone. "Oh, Jae-hyun, you're here." She walked toward him, reaching for his arm. "I was just—" "What?" he interrupted, voice low and hollow. "Did you just say?" Her smile twitched. You heard." Every light in the room seemed too bright. Every second stretched too long. His mother lay unconscious just inches away, fragile and silent. And the woman he planned to share a future with had just wished for her death. Jaime swallowed hard and took a step back, realizing too late who she was facing. Not the man she posed beside in engagement photos. Not the polite air people saw at charity events. But the real Kang Jae-hyun. The cold one. The calculating one. The dangerous one. The silent storm everyone feared. He didn't shout. He didn't break anything. He didn't move a muscle. He just looked at her. Really looked. As if seeing a stranger wearing her face. "Jaime," he said softly. "Tell me the truth." Her lip quivered for the first time. I didn't mean it," she whispered. "I was upset. I was frustrated. Your mother. She drained you, Jae-hyun. I just want us to be free. Free. The word made something inside him crack. His mother in the hospital bed. The woman he trusted revealing her greed. The memory of him working day and night to protect the people he loved. And now this. He turned slowly toward his mother, brushing a gentle hand over her forehead. She never did anything to you, he murmured. She only ever treated you kindly. Jaime's expression tightened in fear. He heard her footsteps inch toward the door, but before she could escape, he finally spoke the words that made her freeze. Jaime, he whispered without turning, if I find out you had anything to do with this... The rain outside thundered louder. You won't walk away from what comes next. She gasped, covering her mouth. He lifted his eyes to the heart monitor, steady but weak. Something wasn't right. This collapse, it felt too sudden. And now he had to know, what exactly had happened to his mother? Was it truly an illness or something else? Before he could ask, the door swung open violently. One of his men rushed inside, drenched from rain, breathing heavily. Boss, he panted. We found something in the CCTV footage of your mother's ward. Something you need to see. Now. Jae-hyun stood slowly, cold, controlled, ready for war. Jaime's face drained of color. The air in the room turned suffocating. Show me, he said, and when he stepped into the hallway, he didn't look at his fiancée again, not even once. But what the CCTV revealed next would shatter everything he thought he knew. If you want to see what happens next and uncover the shocking secrets that could destroy their love, hit that like button and subscribe now. You won't want to miss out. The hallway felt cold in the rain outside. Fluorescent lights buzzed softly overhead, casting pale shadows along the polished floor. Nurses moved quickly from room to room, but their footsteps faded against the fury building quietly inside Kong Jae-hyun. He didn't walk. He stalked, every step sharp, controlled, deliberate. His man, Deyoon, kept pace beside him, trying not to show how nervous he was. Everyone feared the boss's anger, but the boss's silence? That was worse. When they reached the private security room, Deyoon unlocked the door with trembling fingers. Boss, before you watch this, just know it's not normal. Jae-hyun didn't answer. He simply stepped inside. The room was dim, filled with rows of screens showing hospital hallways, elevators, entrances. The security guard on duty stood up quickly and bowed, so low his forehead nearly touched the desk. "Yes, sir, we didn't realize." "Play the footage," Jae-hyun ordered. No emotion, no hesitation, just steel. Deyoon pulled up the recording from 2 hours earlier, the time when his mother had collapsed. The screen blinked, then showed the hallway outside her room. At first, everything looked normal. Nurses walking, doctors passing by, a cleaning cart in the corner. But then, a figure appeared at the edge of the frame. A woman. She moved carefully, almost too carefully, keeping her head lowered as if avoiding the cameras. Her clothes were simple, a white cardigan, black skirt, clean sneakers, the kind of outfit you'd never look at twice. But Jae-hyun noticed everything. The way she hugged the wall, the gloves on her hands, the way she checked the time before slipping into his mother's room, the room where she had collapsed minutes later. Deyoon swallowed. "Boss, we checked the hospital staff records. No one with that appearance works here." Another screen loaded, this time from inside the room. Jae-hyun leaned in. His mother was alone on the bed, resting. The mysterious woman entered quietly, her movements rehearsed, almost clinical. She closed the blinds. She checked the hallway twice. Then she approached the floor line. Jae-hyun's jaw tightened so hard the muscle in his cheek twitched. The woman pulled something small from her pocket, a syringe filled with a clear liquid. She injected it swiftly into 4-tube. Only for a moment, only long enough. Then she wiped everything clean and slipped away. Deyoon exhaled shakily. "Boss!" That was a medication. The lab said it's a toxin, a slow-acting one. The room fell silent. Even the machines seemed to hold their breath. But Jae-hyun? His eyes didn't blink. They didn't soften. They only turned colder, the kind of cold that came from years of betrayal, war, and the weight of an entire syndicate on his shoulders. He memorized a woman's walk, her height, the angle of her shoulders, the rhythm of her steps. He memorized her like a hunter studying prey. "Rewind it," he said quietly. They rewound. He watched the injection again. Then again. Then again. Each time his heartbeat slowed, his breathing steadied, until he was no longer the son of a sick mother. He was a Mafia boss everyone feared. Deyoon hesitated. "Boss, there's more." He loaded a second video. This time it was from the hospital parking lot. The same woman. But when she removed her mask, her face became clear. And it was not a stranger's face. Jae-hyun's eyes narrowed. It was someone he had seen before. Someone who had smiled politely at his mother. Someone who had visited his fiancée more than once. Someone who claimed to be a friend. A friend of Min Hae-mi. The hospital room. The phone call. The poison. Everything snapped together. Like a puzzle he never wanted complete. Hae-mi wasn't just waiting for his mother to die. She had someone helping her. Diyun looked at him like he was bracing for a storm. "Boss, what are your orders?" Jae-hyun didn't answer immediately. He stared at the paused frame of the woman's face. The face of betrayal, greed, and calculated cruelty. A face that thought she could move unseen. His mother's faint heartbeat echoed in his mind. Then, softly, too softly, he spoke. "Find her." Diyun nodded, already moving. "And Diyun," Jae-hyun added, still staring at the screen, "bring her to me alive." Diyun froze. Alive meant interrogation. Interrogation meant truth. Truth meant consequences. "Yes, boss." But as Diyun left, something else caught Jae-hyun's attention. A movement in the corner of another camera feed. A shadow. Someone else was watching the woman leave. Someone who stepped out of the elevator just seconds after her. Someone who followed from a distance, hidden beneath a hood. A second unknown figure. Not Hae-mi, not the assassin. Someone else entirely. Jae-hyun leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "Who are you?" he whispered. Before he could analyze further, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He checked the screen. A text message. From an unknown number. 3 chilling words. "She's not the only target." Jae-hyun's blood ran cold. His mother wasn't the only one in danger. Then another message came. This time with a picture. A blurry hospital hallway. And at the far end, a young black American woman standing near the elevator, unaware of the figure quietly watching her. A woman Jae-hyun recognized immediately. The only nurse in the hospital who never bowed to him, never feared him, never flinched around him. The one who had once spoken to his mother kindly when no one else did. Sierra Bennett. And whoever took that picture was targeting her next. Jae-hyun's heartbeat slammed hard against his ribs. Because Sierra, the woman who didn't know she was in the middle of a war, was walking straight toward danger. Rain beat against the hospital windows, like a warning the world refused to hear. Sierra Bennett didn't notice. She was too busy balancing a stack of patient charts against her chest as she rushed down the quiet hallway. Her sneakers squeaked on the polished floor, her curly ponytail bouncing with each step. She moved fast, with purpose, with focus, the way she always did. Most people didn't see her strength. They saw her kindness. They saw her patience. They saw how she smiled at every elderly patient, bowing respectfully even though she wasn't Korean, even though she stood out, even though some people looked at her with quiet judgment. But Sierra never cared. She came to Korea to take care of people, not to impress them. She paused by the nurse's station, flipping through her notes. "Night shift again, Sierra?" one of the nurses asked gently. Sierra gave a small, tired smile. "I couldn't sleep anyway. And besides, someone needs to keep an eye on Mrs. Kong tonight." Mrs. Kong, Jae-hyun's mother, the only patient Sierra treated, like her own family. The woman had been kind to her from day one, offering warm smiles, asking if she had eaten, telling stories about her husband who used to carve wooden birds as gifts. Sierra admired her deeply. She had no idea that someone wanted the woman dead, or that someone now wanted her dead too. As Sierra gathered new Celine bags and walked toward the elevator, she didn't notice a shadow behind her, didn't notice a figure in a dark hoodie step into the corner, didn't notice the faint click of a phone camera. She just moved, unaware of the danger. The elevator doors opened. She stepped inside. The doors began to close. And then, a hand shot between them, forcing them open. Sierra jumped slightly. When she saw who it was, her breath caught in her throat, not from fear, from shock. Kang Jae-hyun stood there, soaked with rain, black coat dripping water onto the floor, jaw tight, eyes darker than she had ever seen them. The intensity he carried tonight didn't belong in a hospital. It belonged in a battlefield. "Be boss, Kang," she stammered, instinctively stepping back. "Is everything okay?" He didn't answer. He stepped inside the elevator slowly, the doors closing behind them. The air tightened. The small space felt even smaller with him standing so close. She swallowed. "Your mother, she's stable right now. The doctors. Someone took a picture of you," he said suddenly. Sierra blinked. What? His voice was low, tense. A picture, minutes ago, in the hallway. Her heart stuttered. Why would someone? Because they're watching you. His eyes locked onto hers, steady, unblinking. Following you. Sierra felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. Wait, I don't understand. Why would anyone follow me? He hesitated, because he knew the truth was heavier than she could carry. But Sierra wasn't weak. She wasn't the kind of person he could lie to or hide things from. So he spoke the truth quietly. My mother's collapse was not an accident. Sierra gasped, hand flying to her mouth. What do you mean? She was poisoned. His eyes flickered with surprise. How did you? I suspected something was wrong. She looked down, voice shaking. Her symptoms weren't matching any of the conditions she has. The timing didn't make sense. I told the doctor something felt off. He stared at her, realizing something he hadn't processed before. She had sensed the danger before anyone else. You were right, he said softly. Sierra's throat tightened as fear began to settle inside her chest. Does that mean the person who did it thinks I know something? Jae-hyun didn't want to confirm it, but he nodded once. Her fingers curled tightly around the fold of her arms. Not from fear, from resolve. The kind of courage she always hid beneath her soft voice. What do we do now? She asked. His answer came fast. You're not walking anywhere alone. Sierra blinked. What do you mean? He stepped closer. The elevator stopped at the 9th floor, but he didn't press the button to exit. His voice dropped lower. I saw the message, he said. They're targeting you. And I won't let anything happen to you. Not after today. Her pulse skipped, but before she could respond, the elevator lights suddenly flickered. Once, twice, then the entire elevator shuddered violently. Sierra's eyes widened. What was that? The elevator jerked downward, hard. Sierra lost her balance, stumbling forward, falling right into Jae-hyun's chest. His arm snapped around her automatically, steadying her as the elevator groaned loudly, metal grinding against metal. And then everything went dark. Pitch black. The elevator had lost power. A mechanical failure? No. Jae-hyun's instinct screamed the truth. Someone cut the power, he whispered. Sierra froze. They trapped us? He tightened his hold on her, eyes narrowing into the darkness. They're not just watching you. A sound echoed outside the elevator, a distant clang, like someone climbing the shaft. They're coming. Sierra's breath hitched. Jae-hyun shifted, positioning himself in front of her, shielding her with his body. In the pitch-black darkness, Sierra could only hear one thing. His heartbeat. Calm, steady, deadly focused. Sierra, he said quietly, listen to me carefully. She swallowed. I'm listening. No matter what happens when those doors open, stay behind me. Her voice trembled. Are they here for your mother or for me? He didn't hesitate. You. Her breath caught. And I won't let them touch you, he whispered. The sound in the elevator shaft grew louder, closer. Something scraped against the metal doors. Sierra's fingers curled into his coat. The darkness didn't hide the danger. It amplified it. And when the doors began to creak open with a slow, chilling moan, Sierra realized this wasn't a warning anymore. It was an attack. The metal doors groaned as they were pried apart from the outside. Sierra held her breath. Jae-hyun stepped in front of her, one arm slightly stretched back to keep her behind him. Even in darkness, his presence felt like a shield, unbreakable, immovable. A harsh, cold draft rushed into the elevator as the opening widened inch by inch. Then, a gloved hand slipped through the gap. Another hand followed, and a shadowy figure pulled the doors apart just enough to peer inside. A mask covered their face. Black clothes. No hospital badge. No hesitation. An assassin. A real one. The intruder's gaze landed instantly on Sierra, even in the dark. Jae-hyun moved without warning. He slammed his hand against the control panel, triggering the emergency brake release. The elevator jolted downward just a few centimeters, enough to knock the intruder off balance and force the doors to snap shut again. Sierra gasped and grabbed the closest thing to steady herself. The railing behind her. Jae-hyun's voice was low, controlled. We have 10 seconds before they try again. Sierra stared at him in disbelief. How do you know? Because I used to be the one breaking into elevators. The elevator lights flickered once more. Not fully on, just enough to cast faint silver shadows. But that brief light was enough for Sierra to see something she had never seen on him before. Fear, not for himself, for her, and that scared her more than the assassin. Boss Kong, she whispered. Why would they want me? I'm just a nurse. His jaw tightened. You're not just anything. You noticed the symptoms my mother had. You questioned the doctors. Whoever poisoned her knows you're smart enough to figure it out. Sierra's stomach twisted. So they want to silence me? Yes. The elevator shook again. Someone was trying to force it open from the outside. Sierra flinched. Jae-hyun turned, gripping her shoulders with both hands. His eyes locked onto hers through the dimness. Look at me. She did. Breathe. She tried. Shaky, uneven breaths. Good. His voice softened just slightly. I won't let them get to you. Do you understand? She nodded. Even though fear clawed inside her, something crashed against the elevator doors. Sierra startled again. What do we do? We're trapped. No, we're not. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small metal rod, compact, sturdy, something Sierra didn't even realize he carried. What is that? She whispered. A lock-override tool. Why do you have? Because I'm never unprepared. The elevator ceiling above them rattled, dust falling down. Sierra's breath hitched. They're coming from the top. Exactly why we're leaving through the bottom. He knelt, prying open the emergency floor panel with the tool. Beneath them was a narrow maintenance shaft, cramped, dark, cold. Sierra felt her chest tighten. I don't know if I can climb down there. You won't need to. He peered below, checking the distance. It's only one level. I'll drop first, then catch you. What? No, what if you get hurt? What if? Sierra. He looked up at her again, voice steady. Trust me. Another violent bang hit the doors, this time stronger. No time. Jae-hyun dropped into the shaft first, landing silently. Sierra, he called up, give me your hand. Her hands trembled, but she moved. She lowered herself toward the opening, heart pounding, palms sweating. The shaft felt like an endless black hole. Don't look down, he said softly. She looked down. Instant regret. Okay, maybe I shouldn't. Sierra, her breath hitched. I won't let you fall. Something in his voice, a promise, fierce and unshakable, made her close her eyes and trust him. She let go. She fell only a short distance before strong arms caught her firmly, steady, like he had been waiting for her exact landing. She opened her eyes. He set her down gently, making sure she stood safely on the narrow maintenance platform. Above them, the elevator roof creaked violently. He's going to get in, Sierra whispered. He won't reach us in time, Jae-hyun said. This way. He guided her into the narrow maintenance corridor. Cold metal walls, faint emergency lights, a hum of electricity. Sierra stayed close behind him, gripping the wall for balance. I don't understand, she said quietly, voice shaking. Why go through all this? Why poison your mother? Why come after me? What's the point? Jae-hyun stopped. He didn't turn around, but his voice dropped. Because someone wants my family destroyed. Sierra swallowed hard. And you think it's connected to your fiancé, she said. Silence. A silence that said yes and something more. Before Sierra could speak again, a loud metallic crash echoed from the elevator shaft behind them. The assassin had finally broken through. We need to move faster, Jae-hyun said urgently. They continued down the narrow hallway. But then, Sierra stepped on something. A slick, cold liquid on the floor. She looked down. A thin trail of clear fluid. Not water, not oil. Something chemical. Her heart dropped. Jae-hyun, she whispered. This isn't part of the hospital's maintenance system. He looked down, examined the trail. His eyes darkened. It's the same toxin they use on my mother. Sierra felt the world sway. They planted it here too? Why? Jae-hyun lifted his head slowly, sensing something Sierra did not. They weren't trying to poison anyone down here. Then what? They used it, he said quietly, to mark their escape route. Sierra's blood ran cold, meaning the assassin wasn't alone. Someone else had been here hours earlier. Someone who knew the hospital layout better than any outsider should. Someone who worked inside. Sierra's voice cracked. Oh my God, it's an inside job. Jae-hyun's phone vibrated again. Another message. This time only 2 words. Too late. Before Sierra could react, a massive clang echoed from the far end of the maintenance hall. A door beyond them suddenly slammed shut, locked from the outside. They were trapped between the elevator assassin and someone waiting at the other end. Jae-hyun stepped in front of Sierra again, his voice barely a whisper. "We're surrounded." Sierra's eyes widened with terror. And then, from the shadows ahead, a familiar voice spoke. Soft, cold, chilling. "You should have stayed upstairs, Jae-hyun." Sierra's breath caught. She recognized that voice instantly, because that voice often brought tea to the nurse's lounge. That voice always smiled politely at Mrs. Kong. That voice always visited Jaime. Jaime's friend, the same woman from the CCTV footage. The poisoner. She stepped into the dim light, mask off now, expression calm. Your mother wasn't the only one who needed to disappear. Her eyes drifted to Sierra. Tonight is her turn. The maintenance corridor suddenly felt colder, like the walls were closing in. Sierra instinctively stepped back, her shoulder brushing against Jae-hyun's arm as the poisoner, the woman from the security footage, walked toward them with slow, deliberate steps. Her name was Seo Mina. Sierra recognized her now. The friendly smile, the soft voice, the polite bow. The woman who once brought Mrs. Kong flowers. The same woman who visited Jaime's apartment often. And now that same gentle face held nothing but quiet cruelty. Jae-hyun didn't move. He didn't flinch. He simply shifted, so Sierra stood slightly behind him, shielded. "Mina," he said, voice low, "you made a mistake." She smiled faintly. "I made many, but poisoning your mother isn't one of them." She was in the way. Sierra's breath caught. In the way of what? Mina's eyes flicked toward her with amusement. "You shouldn't talk, Sierra. You're only alive right now because I find your bravery cute." Sierra's hands tightened. Cute? Nothing about this was cute. Jae-hyun's voice dropped colder. "Why target Sierra?" Mina laughed quietly. "Because she saw too much. Because she cares too much. Because she isn't afraid of you." She tilted her head. "And because she keeps getting in the way." "In the way of who?" Sierra pressed. "You? Jaime?" At that, Mina's expression shifted. Just slightly. But Jae-hyun caught it instantly. "The orders came from Jaime," he said. Mina didn't deny it. She only stepped closer. "There are things you don't understand, Jae-hyun," she said calmly. "Your fiancée has waited years for her place beside you. She watched you choose everyone except her. Your mother, your father, your cousin, your stupid little rules. And now me," Sierra whispered. Mina smiled coldly. "Exactly. You stole attention from a woman who already had nothing left to lose." Jae-hyun's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice controlled. "Where is she now?" Mina shrugged. "Waiting, planning, preparing for your mother's funeral." Jae-hyun's eyes turned lethal. "The one that hasn't happened yet." Mina finished with a smirk. Sierra felt a cold wave travel down her spine. This woman wasn't guessing. She was certain. Someone had promised her that Mrs. Kong would die, and she had planned every step around that belief. Jae-hyun stepped forward, blocking Mina's path. "Mina," he said quietly, "move." She didn't. Instead, the elevator assassin finally dropped into the maintenance corridor behind them, landing with a heavy thud. Sierra flinched and turned, trapped now between two threats. Jae-hyun positioned himself, so Sierra stood in the smallest pocket of safety between his body and the wall. Two attackers, one narrow corridor. No exits. Mina raised her chin. "Do you know what the worst part is?" she asked. "Your mother trusted me. She let me bring her tea. She let me stand beside her bed. She told me how proud she was of you." Mina scoffed. "And yet, she never approved of Jaime. Never." Sierra felt her breath hitch. "So you hurt her because she didn't approve?" "She hurt Jaime first." "No," Sierra said quietly, with courage she didn't know she had. She protected her son. Mina's eyes hardened. "Say another word," she whispered, "and you'll do nothing." Jae-hyun cut in sharply. The assassin moved slightly, as if preparing to rush them. But Jae-hyun lifted his hand. A silent command. A warning. "Try it," he said, voice cold as winter steel. "Take one step toward her. See how far you get." Even in the dim emergency lights, Sierra could see the assassin hesitate. Something in Jae-hyun's posture, the stillness, the deadly calm, made both attackers reconsider. Mina clicked her tongue. "You're stubborn, Jae-hyun. You always were. You always protected the wrong people." Sierra's heart pounded faster. "Why me?" she whispered. "What did I ever do?" Mina's expression sharpened. You exist. The words hit Sierra like ice. And apparently, Mina added, eyes narrowing, you mean something to him. Sierra froze. Jae-hyun didn't move, didn't react. But the silence said more than words. Mina noticed. Sierra noticed. Even the assassin seemed to notice. The corridor suddenly felt too small for 3 heartbeats. Mina laughed softly, shaking her head. Pathetic. She doesn't even know, does she? You hide everything. Your family, your power, your past, your feelings. Stop talking, Jae-hyun warned. Mina ignored him. You look at her the same way your father used to look at your mother. Her smile turned cruel. And look how well that turned out. Sierra swallowed hard. She didn't know what Mina meant, but she could feel Jae-hyun tense beside her. Mina, he said, voice low, you've said enough. Not yet. She lifted her phone and pressed a button. A video began to play. Sierra couldn't see it clearly from where she stood, but Jae-hyun could, his entire body locked, his breath stilled, his eyes, usually unreadable, widened for a single heartbeat, then narrowed dangerously. What did you do? He asked. Mina smiled. Oh, she said sweetly, nothing much. She held up the phone so Sierra could see, and Sierra's blood went cold. It was a live video of Mrs. Kang's hospital room, but that wasn't the part that made Sierra's knees weaken. The part that made her hand cover her mouth was the person standing over Mrs. Kang's bed. Not Mina, not the assassin, not a stranger. Jaime, Jae-hyun's fiancé, holding a syringe. The same one Mina used earlier. No, Sierra whispered. Jae-hyun's breath turned into razor-edged ice. Mina tilted her head. You're too late, she said softly. The video zoomed in. Jaime raised a syringe over Mrs. Kang's foreline. Jae-hyun took one slow, lethal step forward. Mina, he said quietly, deadly calm. If she touches my mother... Mina cut him off with a whisper. She already did. Sierra grabbed Jae-hyun's arm, eyes wide with horror. The live video continued. And at that exact moment, Mrs. Kang's heart monitor began to speed up erratically. Beep, 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 beep. Jae-hyun's world shattered. No, he whispered. Mina's smile widened. By the time you reach your room, she said, your mother will be gone. The maintenance lights flickered. The assassin behind them stepped forward, trapping them. Mina stepped back, separating them. And Sierra felt tears sting her eyes as the truth landed heavily. This was an attack. This was a countdown. The corridors of Gwangjin General were quiet, but the silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. It pressed down on the air like a warning. Malik walked fast, his long strides echoing as the night shift nurses whispered behind him. The black American woman wiped her palms against her jeans, trying to breathe even though her heart wasn't listening. She wasn't scared of hospitals. She was scared of what Jae-min would look like right now. Every step brought them closer to the room where his mother lay, and closer to the truth she could see in his face, a truth that frightened her more than the men chasing them last night. When they reached the final hallway, Malik stopped. Stay here, he said gently. His voice was deep, calm, but his hands were trembling. She touched his arm. He needs you. Malik swallowed, eyes focused on the closed door ahead. It's not him I'm worried about, he murmured. It's what I'll become when I see her. She didn't understand fully, but she understood enough. Jae-min's mother was the only soft part of his life, the only thing keeping the beast inside him controlled. If she was hurt, if she was gone, he would break in ways he could never come back from. Malik finally knocked softly and pushed the door open. Inside, the lights were low and warm. Jae-min sat beside the bed, shoulders stiff, jaw clenched, eyes locked on the heart monitor like he was forcing it to beat with his own will. He didn't even turn when Malik entered. But the woman saw everything. His hair was disheveled. His suit jacket was thrown to the floor. His white shirt was wrinkled and soaked from the rain earlier. His eyes, they weren't the cold, controlled eyes of a Mafia boss. They were the eyes of a son terrified to lose the only person who ever loved him without fear. Hyung, Malik whispered. Nothing. Jae-min didn't move. Malik tried again, softer. Hyung, she's stable. The doctor said. Someone poisoned her. Jae-min's voice was low, deadly, empty. Malik froze. What? Jae-min finally looked up, and the woman gasped quietly. His eyes were red, not from anger, from crying. The doctors confirmed it, he said. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't stress. His hand tightened around the blanket on his mother's bed. Someone tried to kill her to get to me. The woman's skin prickled. She stepped slowly into the room, but Jae-min didn't acknowledge her. He couldn't. He was somewhere far away, in a dark place she had never seen before. Malik looked like he'd been stabbed. They really crossed a line. They crossed death's line, Jae-min whispered. The heart monitor beeped steadily. Beside them, those soft beeps were the only thing keeping him anchored to the world. Then he lifted his gaze, sharp, determined, broken. Malik locked down the entire Seoul district. No one enters. No one leaves. Every ally, every rat, every person who has ever said my name, bring them in. Malik stiffened. Hyun, I'm done waiting for them to strike first. There was a darkness creeping into Jae-min's stare. A darkness that made Malik swallow hard. You can't go to war like this, Malik warned. You're grieving. I'm awake. His voice cracked, but it was still terrifying. The woman stepped closer, voice soft. Jae-min, please just breathe. Slowly, painfully, he turned his head. Their eyes met. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He just stared at her like he had forgotten how to feel anything. Then, footsteps thundered down the hallway. A guard burst into the room, panting. Boss, you need to come outside now. Jae-min stood instantly. What happened? The guard hesitated, eyes flickering to the woman. Say it, Jae-min demanded. Your fiancé is here. Jae-min froze. Malik swore under his breath. The woman felt her chest tighten. His fiancé, the one who disappeared the night his father was killed. The same woman who suddenly wanted him back. Now she was here? Why? Jae-min said quietly. She's not alone, sir. Jae-min's jaw tightened. How many? 6 men. Malik stepped forward. Hyun, this is a trap. The guard interrupted, voice shaking now. That's not all. She said she has something to show you. Something urgent. Jae-min moved toward the door without hesitation. Malik grabbed his arm. Hyun, don't walk into this. Jae-min slowly looked at him, expression unreadable. Someone tried to murder my mother, he said. If she thinks she can walk in here with 6 dogs and show me something, his voice dropped lower, colder. I want to see exactly what she thinks she has. He stepped into the hallway. The woman followed, heart pounding. As they turned the corner, they saw her, Jae-min's fiancée, standing in the middle of the hall in a white coat, hair perfect, lips smiling softly like she didn't bring danger with her. But the moment she saw Jae-min, her smile vanished. She held out her phone with shaking hands. Jae-min, I found something. Her voice broke. It's about your mother, and about who poisoned her. Jae-min stopped 3 steps away. Show me, he said. She swallowed. Then she pressed play. Jae-min's eyes widened. Malik cursed. The woman covered her mouth, because the video showed not a stranger, not a hitman, someone familiar, someone trusted, someone from inside his own organization. But the fiancé whispered the final blow. Jae-min, it was one of your own men. Jae-min's breath punched out at him, and then the phone beeped. A message appeared on the screen. It said, tell him the truth before she dies next. The fiancé's eyes filled with tears. I think they're coming for your mother again. Jae-min's heart stopped, and the hallway lights flickered. Then the entire hospital went dark. The moment the hospital lights blinked off, the world shifted. Darkness swallowed the hallway. The air turned cold. Something electric, something dangerous, crawled across the walls. Malik moved first. Get back, he shouted, pulling the woman behind him as his eyes adjusted. But Jae-min didn't move at all. He stood perfectly still, not frozen in fear, but frozen in calculation, in darkness. He became exactly what Seoul whispered about, the man whose shadow could suffocate an entire district. The fiancée gasped somewhere near the elevators. Malik, what is happening? She whispered shakily. It's a blackout, Malik muttered, but not from the city grid. No, this blackout was too sudden, too targeted, too quiet. Someone had cut power inside the hospital. Jae-min finally spoke into the dark. They're already here. The silence that followed was thick, like the building was holding its breath. Then a single emergency light flickered on above them. It glowed a dim, red hue, just enough to reveal the icy expression on Jae-min's face. He turned toward Malik. Secure my mother. Now! Malik nodded sharply and sprinted down the hall. The woman moved to go with him, instinctively, but Jae-min caught her wrist. Not harshly, but firmly. You stay with me. His voice wasn't angry. It wasn't cold. It was protective, quiet, steady, unshakably certain. The fiancée swallowed, hugging her phone to her chest. Jimmy, you have to believe me, she whispered in the dim red glow. I didn't send that message. I didn't put that video on my phone. I swear. He looked at her, really looked at her, but no answer came, because down the hall, far down, footsteps echoed. Slow, heavy, deliberate. A man stepped into view beneath another flickering red light. He wore a hospital mask, surgical gloves, a white coat stained with something dark. But what made the woman's blood run cold, what made the fiancé step backward, was the tattoo peeking from beneath his collar. A tattoo every member of Jae-min's gang had. A doctor? The fiancé whispered in horror. No, Jae-min said softly. That's one of my men. The man lifted a syringe, tapping it lightly. A clear liquid glimmered inside. Boss, the masked man said with a twisted smile visible even under the mask. You should have stayed out of this room. Jae-min's eyes turned to ice. The fiancé trembled. The woman's heart pounded so loud she could feel it in her throat. Jae-min didn't step back. He stepped forward. Who paid you? The man tilted his head. You already know. It was a sentence that confirmed everything. The betrayal wasn't random, wasn't impulsive, wasn't forced. This man had chosen this. And worse, he was stalling, which meant, the woman gasped, Your mother, he's distracting us. Jae-min's reaction was instantaneous. He lunged forward, grabbing the man by the collar and slamming him against the wall hard enough to rattle the metal frame beneath the emergency light. The syringe clattered to the floor. Who is with her? Jae-min growled. The man didn't answer. He only grinned under mask. Jae-min's jaw clenched as he pinned him harder. If she dies, his whisper was deadly. Every person who ever stood with you will vanish from the city. The man began laughing. And that was when Malik's voice thundered from down the hall. Hyung. Jae-min released the traitor instantly and ran toward the sound, the woman right behind him, breath sharp and fast. The fiancée stayed frozen in the hall, gripping her phone like a lifeline. Jae-min turned the corner, and his chest tightened. Malik stood outside the mother's room, fists clenched, breathing heavily, staring at the door that was now cracked open. Jae-min pushed past him and burst into the room. For one horrifying moment, a moment that felt like gravity disappearing. He thought she was gone. The bed was empty. His mother was not there. Only the scent of medication and the soft beeping of disconnected wires remained. The woman pressed a hand to her mouth. Malik whispered, She's gone. Someone took her. No, no, no. Jae-min stayed completely still, staring at the empty bed, unable to move. His entire world, the last piece of softness he had been ripped out of the room like a ghost taken by force. But then, a sound, something subtle, something soft, something that didn't belong in a room full of medical equipment. A ringtone. Slowly, they all turned toward it. A cell phone lay on the floor beside the bed. Not his, not Malik's, not hospital-issued. Unknown. Jae-min picked it up. The moment his fingers touched the screen, it lit up. A video call. A masked face appeared, and a voice distorted by a modulator spoke clearly. If you want your mother back, come alone. The woman's heart dropped. Malik stepped forward. Hyung, don't listen. But the voice continued. And bring your fiancée. Jae-min froze. The fiancée? Why her? What did they want? Then the voice added one more sentence. One sentence that made all three of them stiffen. One of these women, the masked face tilted, is the reason your mother is dying. And then the call ended. The screen went dark. The room fell silent. But inside that silence, a single question exploded like a grenade. Which woman did they mean? His fiancée? Or the woman who had been running beside him all night? Jae-min finally lifted his head, and for the first time his eyes held doubt. A doubt sharp enough to break everything. The room felt colder after the call ended. Not because of the missing patient, not because of the blackout, but because of the silence that followed the kidnapper's final sentence. One of these women is the reason your mother is dying. The words replayed in the air like a curse. Malik stared at the dark screen, fists trembling. The fiancée looked pale, shaking so hard she almost dropped her phone. But the woman, the black American woman, stood perfectly still. Her breath came slow, steady, but the hurt in her eyes was unmistakable. Jae-min wasn't looking at the phone anymore. He was looking at them, Both of them. And that silence, that look, cut deeper than any blade. Hyung, Malik said quietly, stepping between them. Think. They want to divide us. Don't let them. But Jae-min didn't blink. He was remembering the video. The betrayal. His mother's frail body being led away like a fragile secret stolen in the dark. He was remembering how the message came through the fiancé's phone, and how the woman had suddenly appeared in his life weeks ago, unplanned, unexpected. Suspicion wasn't something he could turn off. It was survival. The fiancé finally broke the silence. Why? You don't believe that, right? She whispered. Jamin, please. I would never do anything to hurt your mother. Her voice trembled, but there was desperation beneath it. The desperation of someone who knew their place in his life was unsteady. Jae-min didn't answer, so she stepped forward. I came here to warn you, she continued, tears gathering. To protect you. To show you that video because I knew something was wrong. She looked at the other woman, then back at Jae-min. I'm not your enemy. The woman lowered her gaze, whispering, I'm not either. But those soft words didn't erase the tension twisting the air. It only made it thicker. Malik exhaled sharply. This is exactly what they want, he muttered. They want you confused. They want you paranoid. They want you. The fiancé cut him off. No! Her voice sharpened suddenly. Everyone turned. Why was she even here? She demanded, pointing at the woman. Why is she involved? Why is she always with you? Stop, Malik snapped. But she stepped closer to Jae-min, lowering her voice. Do you know who she truly is? Do you know where she came from? Do you know anything about her background? Her connections? That's enough, Malik said again, louder. The fiancé looked straight at the woman, not with hostility, but with fear. You showed up in his life the same week the threat started, the same week his mother fell sick, the same week old enemies resurfaced. The woman swallowed, but didn't look away. And what about you? She asked softly. You disappeared the night his father died. Why did you come back now? The hallway fell silent. Too silent. Even Jae-min's breath slowed. Malik tensed instantly. The fiancé's face went blank for 1 second, a flicker of emotion she couldn't hide fast enough. And Jae-min saw it. Every tiny detail. Every micro-expression. It wasn't guilt. It was fear. Not fear of being accused. Fear of being exposed. Jae-min stepped toward her slowly. Why did you come back? He asked quietly. The fiancé opened her mouth. Nothing came out. He asked again, voice deeper. Why did you return? Her fingers tightened around her phone. Then, a loud explosion shook the building. The walls trembled. Windows rattled. Dust fell from the ceiling. The woman gasped, grabbing the wall. Malik pulled her back from the door as alarms began to blare through the hospital. The fiancé screamed, covering her ears. Jae-min didn't move. He knew that sound. Everyone in Seoul's underworld knew that sound. A breach. The kidnappers were no longer hiding. They were inside the hospital. Malik shouted over the alarms. They're coming back for her. They must want to move her again. Jae-min turned toward the hallway, eyes sharpening with lethal resolve. He wasn't confused anymore. He wasn't frozen. He had something he hadn't had in hours. Direction. He grabbed Malik by the shoulder. Secure the stairwell. No one gets past you. Malik nodded and ran. Jae-min turned to the two women. You, he said, pointing at the fiancé. You stay where Malik can see you. Then he turned to the other woman. And you? He stopped. Something passed through his eyes. Not doubt, not trust. Something in between. Something dangerous. Something fragile. He swallowed. Stay with me? Her chest tightened, not from emotion, but from the weight of his tone. Because he wasn't protecting her. He wasn't choosing her. He was keeping his eyes on her. From both directions. He stepped into the hall, the red emergency lights flashing across his face. At the far end, shadows moved. Multiple shadows. Armed. Malik shouted from a distance. Hyung, they're coming from both sides. Jae-min stepped forward. Good, he said coldly. Let them come. The woman stood behind him, heart pounding, as the shadows closed in. The fiancé backed away slowly, hands shaking, staring at both of them. And then she whispered something under her breath. So quiet only she could hear it. They're right. One of us is the reason she's dying. Her eyes lifted. And I know exactly which one. Before she could finish her thought, a figure lunged from the darkness. Not toward Jae-min, not toward Malik. Toward her, the woman. Jae-min spun instantly, eyes blazing, arms reaching out, but he wasn't fast enough. A gloved hand grabbed the woman from behind, pressing a cloth over her mouth. She tried to scream, but the hall spun instantly, her knees weakening. Jae-min's voice roared through the corridor. "No!" He sprinted forward, but the kidnapper whispered into the woman's ear as her vision faded. "You were always the real target." Then, everything went black. Her world vanished in a blink. One moment she was standing behind Jae-min. The next, her vision blurred. The hallway twisted, and cold fingers dragged her backward into the darkness. The cloth over her mouth burned with a sharp chemical scent. Her lungs panicked. Her mind screamed, but her voice couldn't break through. Her knees collapsed beneath her weight as the kidnapper pulled her down the hallway like she was nothing more than a shadow being erased. Everything felt slow, underwater, silent, except for one sound that cut through the fog. Jae-min yelling her name. Not a soft call, not a worried whisper. A roar, a sound ripped from his chest like something inside him had snapped the moment she was stolen from his sight. "Stop! Let her go!" His voice ricocheted down the corridor as he sprinted after them. Malik shot past him like a bullet, rage turning him into a force of nature. But the hallway lights flickered. Once, twice, then shut down completely. Darkness. A hand grabbed Jae-min's shoulder from behind. He spun, ready to break someone's jaw. It was a fiancée. Her voice shook. "Jae-min!" They took her down the surgical wing. He pushed past her without a single glance. Every second counted. Every breath she lost tore another piece of him apart. Malik's voice echoed faintly in the dark. "Hyung, basement stairs, they're heading down." The three of them ran, feet pounding against the cold tile, shadows sliding across the walls. Emergency alarms wailing like the building was gasping for air. At the stairwell, Jae-min didn't slow down. He jumped, cleared the first 5 steps in one leap. His breathing was lethal, measured, deadly. Malik kept pace a few steps behind him, but the fiancée struggled, gripping the rail as she stumbled down. "Wait, Jae-min, slow down." He didn't. At the bottom of the stairs, a metal door slammed shut with a violent clang. Malik kicked it open. Cold air rushed in. Sterile, industrial. The basement. Rows of empty wheelchairs lined the walls. Supply crates stacked floor to ceiling. Faint flickers of blue light danced from the emergency generator and echoing through the massive underground space. Footsteps. Fast. Sharp. Dragging something. Or someone. Jae-min followed the sound like a predator tracking blood. "There!" Malik pointed toward a long corridor leading deeper underground. Just as they turned the corner, a voice boomed through the PA speakers in the basement. Distorted. Metallic. Mocking. "Boss, you're late." Jae-min froze. The lights dimmed to an eerie blue glow. The fiancée pressed herself against the wall, trembling. Malik raised his fist, scanning the room. Jae-min's voice sliced through the silence. "Where is she?" The kidnapper chuckled through the speakers. "So impatient. You weren't this emotional before. Not when your father died." Jae-min's fist clenched until his knuckles cracked. The voice continued. "Your mother was easy. Slower to fight back. Slower to run." A pause. "But this woman, this one they took, she's different. She is fire." Malik whispered. "They're trying to provoke you," but it was too late. A storm had already awakened inside Jae-min. He stepped forward, targeting the nearest camera. "If you touch a single hair on her head." "You'll do what?" The voice mocked. "Cry? Break? Burn down half the city like you did last time?" The fiancé's eyes darted to him in shock. Last time, Jae-min didn't look at her. He didn't look at anyone. His gaze was locked on the camera above them, his jaw hard enough to break steel. The voice wasn't finished. "You want to know who gave the order?" A click. Static. Then a slow, cruel laugh. "Maybe the same person who told your little sweetheart to walk into your life." Jae-min stiffened. Malik swore under his breath. "Hyung, don't listen." But the voice kept cutting deeper. "You think she met you by accident? You think she didn't know who you were? You think she wasn't placed?" The fiancée stepped forward trembling. "Jae-min, don't let them twist your mind." The speakers crackled again. "Bring the fiancée forward." Everyone froze. Malik's eyes widened. "No, no, don't do it." The voice continued. "Place her under the red light. I'll show you the truth about the woman you're so desperate to save." Jae-min's whole body went cold. He turned slowly toward his fiancée. She stepped back instantly. Wait, Jimin, please don't. His voice was quiet. Too quiet. Come forward. She shook her head violently. No, Jimin, I swear I didn't do anything, please. Why are you looking at me like that? Malik grabbed Jamin's arm. Hyung, this is what they want. Don't let them make you suspect everyone. But Jamin pulled away. Not violently. Not angrily. Just determined. He walked toward the fiancée. Calm. Silent. And she collapsed to her knees, sobbing. I didn't do anything. The voice over the speaker whispered smoothly. Put her under the red light and watch. The emergency lamp above flickered, then bathed the trembling fiancée in a deep crimson glow. The basement went still. The speaker crackled once more. Now, ask her about the night your father died. The fiancée froze. Malik's eyes snapped to her. Jamin's breath stopped. And the woman they kidnapped, the woman they dragged away into the shadows, was still nowhere to be found. But the fiancée, her face broke, her lips parted, and she whispered the truth she had been hiding for years. I was there. The basement air froze. Her confession hit the walls like a dropped glass shattering into 1,000 pieces. I was there the night your father died. Jamin didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. Malik staggered back, whispering, No way. The fiancée's shoulders shook violently. I didn't hurt him, she cried, voice cracking under the weight of her trembling. I swear I didn't, but I saw who did, and I stayed quiet. The speakers hissed with satisfaction. Jamin's jaw tightened. Why? He whispered. She sobbed harder. They threatened me. They came to my house. They knew I was with you. They said if I spoke, if I told you anything, they would kill me and my family. Her hands trembled in the red light. I want to tell you. I tried. But every time I got close, something else happened. Another threat. Another warning. Another reminder. She looked up at him, eyes drenched. I loved you, but I was terrified of your world. The basement grew silent again. But then, a sound. A faint, muffled groan. Jamin's head snapped toward the far corridor. That's her, Malik whispered. That's her, the kidnapped woman. Alive. Somewhere beyond the shadows. The speakers crackled again. You want her alive? Then come claim her. Bring the traitor with you. The fiancé froze. Malik cursed under his breath. Jamin's expression turned unreadable, but he finally spoke. No. Static filled the room. No. The distorted voice repeated. Jamin turned toward the nearest camera, eyes sharp as a blade. You don't give orders. Not in my world. Not in my mother's hospital. Not with the people I care about. His voice was steady. And not today. He motioned to Malik. Find the power box. Restore lights to every wing. Malik sprinted off. The fiancé stared up at him, confused. You're not sending me with them? Jamin looked down at her. No. She sobbed again, but this time in relief. I'm going to protect you, he said gently. But if you ever hide something like that from me again, I can't promise I'll look at you the same. She nodded rapidly. I understand. I promise. But before she could finish, lights surged back on. The basement glowed white and cold. And standing at the far end of the corridor, a masked man held the kidnapped woman in a tight grip, one arm around her shoulders. Her knees were weak, breath sharp, but her eyes met Jamin's instantly. She was conscious. Barely, but conscious. Don't move, the masked man snarled. Jamin stepped forward anyway. I said, don't. He didn't finish. Malik dropped from the upper crate stack like a silent hammer, slamming into the man from behind. The woman stumbled forward, and Jamin caught her before she hit the floor. Her breath trembled against his shoulder. Are you okay? He whispered. She nodded weakly. I think so. Malik pinned the masked man to the ground. Security guards rushed in behind him, alerted by the restored power. I'll take care of him, Malik growled. Jamin lifted the woman gently, supporting her weight. Her eyes closed in exhaustion, but she whispered. They said, I was the target, not your fiancé. His chest tightened. Why? He asked softly. She forced her eyes open. Because of who I used to be. The fiancé gasped. Jamin's breath paused. What does that mean? He asked quietly. She swallowed. I wasn't placed into your life. I wasn't sent. But I used to work with an international investigation team. We were tracking illegal medical trades. I didn't know your family was tied in. I didn't know your enemies were involved. Her voice trembled. And once they recognized me, they wanted me gone. Jamin stared at her, not with suspicion, with realization, with understanding. Everything snapped into place. The threats, the timing, the betrayal, the kidnapping. All of it made sense. He held her tighter. "You should have told me," he whispered. "I didn't want you dragged into that world," she murmured. "You already carry enough pain." His jaw flexed, but his voice was soft. "You don't decide what I can handle." Malik called from behind them. "Hyung, we found your mother." Jamin spun around instantly. 2 nurses wheeled her in slowly. Weak, unconscious, but breathing. Safe. Alive. The woman sagged in relief. He exhaled a breath he'd been holding for hours. Then he looked at both women, standing side by side. One who hid out of fear. One who hid out of loyalty. One who wanted to protect him by lying. One who wanted to protect him by staying silent. But neither of them wanted to hurt him. He understood that now. The fiancée wiped her tears. "I'll tell the police everything. Everything I saw that night." The woman whispered softly. "And I'll help. I can testify too." Malik raised an eyebrow. "They're finally going down." Jamin took a long breath. And for the first time that night, a small, tired smile appeared. "Justice," he said quietly. "Finally." They walked upstairs together, the flashing hospital emergency lights fading behind them. Doctors rushed to stabilize his mother. Security escorted the traitors away in handcuffs. Police gathered statements. Medics checked on the kidnapped woman until she finally lay resting peacefully. Hours later, as dawn seeped into sky over Seoul, Jamin stood outside the hospital with Malik. "Hyung," Malik said, "you did the right thing tonight." "No," Jamin answered softly. "I just stopped letting the past control me." He looked toward the woman resting inside the room, toward the fiancée giving her final testimony, toward the sunrise touching the city with a quiet promise. The storm inside him finally started to calm. Malik nudged him with a small smile. "You think everything's over?" Jamin sighed. "No," he looked at the sky. "But now everything is beginning." And as the first light of morning washed over his face, a single thought echoed inside him. His mother was safe, his enemies exposed, the truth revealed, and the fear that ruled his life for years finally broken. Justice had come, and Seoul, for the first time in a long time, felt like a place where he could breathe again. The end.